G'day and welcome to the Hunting Connection podcast. My name is Zach Williams and I am your host. Here we'll connect you with hunters, fishers and outdoor enthusiasts from around the globe. This podcast will share hunting and fishing stories including past experiences and tackle the tough hunting stereotypes our community faces. We hope to be a positive influence to those outside the community while also having a laugh along the way. Hope you enjoy the podcast. G'day and welcome back to another episode. Today I have Josh from Send It Mate podcast. Welcome, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Yourself?
That's good. Yeah, good, man. Good to finally have you here.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It has.
Too long.
So yeah, we've been just sitting around having a couple drinks and eating some metwurst from Joshua Haynes and one of my other mates, Anthony. So
something that you can't have enough of is metwurst. It always goes.
Exactly. So let's get straight into it. Where are you from, man?
And Radelaide.
Radelaide?
Yeah, good old
Born and
Radelaide.
bred?
Yeah. Unfortunately, some people like it, some people don't.
Yeah. It can be a bit of a shithole through your teenage years, but as long as you find something to keep you out of trouble and busy.
Yeah, look, it's a nanny state, that's for sure. When I was a child, I used to get up to a fair bit of mischief with Caleb to keep ourselves busy because there was nothing about. Actually, where you live, I went to school at Trinity in Blakeview, and none of this was around. None of this estate was around. It was all just farming land.
Yeah, so I could only imagine the trouble you guys got up to in this.
Right,
in the paddocks that were out here back in the day.
Yeah, it was terrible.
How old are you, man?
35.
35. Sweet. What do you do for work?
A bit of farming, this and that. Yeah, just try and keep it outdoors and,
Keep busy.
So, had my own block, but,
Too much work.
No, it was the wrong type of land to try and farm on.
It was a bit hilly. It was right next to the property I hunt goats on. So.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, man. It's like, and that's the perfect way to put it, is mountain goat country. But that's all right. We live and learn. We tried, and we were pushing stuff uphill, but that's all right.
Also, crap for internet reception and
yeah, man,
everything.
At the end of the day, it was like half an hour from Adelaide and zero reception, none.
Couldn't even get broadband.
Nah, it was just ridiculous. I actually remember hurting myself a few times, and I was down in the valley, and I'm like, I can't call anyone. I'm like, I'm stuck. So you just wait the pain out and then you sort of keep on pushing.
Limp up the hill.
Yeah. 6 hours later, you get to your doorstep. It's only 100 metres.
And then driving down that sketchy driveway, you just hope you didn't have a cramp and go off the edge.
Yeah, man. And the neighbours as well coming up and down. You're like, this road's only big enough for one car. And somehow you'd somehow make it work. If like the neighbours were coming up and you were coming down, you'd just sort of shimmy as close as you could to the upside of the hill.
You just hope that you're going to the upside and they're going down to the downside.
Yeah. No flat country out there whatsoever.
Definitely not. So how'd you get into hunting, man?
Look, my father, when I was young, he put an air rifle in my hand and he just said, don't mess up. If you do, it's gone. And I sort of shot well, enjoyed it. And then, once he saw that I enjoyed it and I was sort of wanting to pursue it, he took us out hunting. Actually, one of my most memorable hunts is shooting my very first rabbit with my dad. So I missed probably about 10 times before, and I was disappointed. When you miss something and you just get disappointed in yourself, you're just like, oh, what am I doing wrong?
It's escalated when you're that age. So I had a very similar upbringing, air rifle, 22. We were chatting before the podcast that we probably ran into each other on the gun range when we were both quite young. But yeah, like going goat hunting with my pop, my grandfather, and I can't remember taking my first goat. I'm not even sure if I've shot a goat with a rifle. Mm-hmm. There's a few photos of me posing with a goat with a rifle when I was younger, but I've still got it in my memory, mainly because it's been drilled into my memory from the shit that I get given by my pop still to this day. There was a goat at probably just a kid at 60, 70 meters, and I had it was either the 22 horn or the 22 mag, and I've lined it up and just missed. And Pops grabbed the rifle out my hand and he goes, "Nah, you missed. You had your shot." And then just the whole way back to the car, he's like, "Well, you missed. You didn't get another shot."
That's a nice
like
way.
it just stood there, and its tail flicked up. And his joke to this day that was the goat giving me the finger, its tail sticking up, going, "Fuck you."
That's good. That's good, actually. What a way to learn, though.
Man, I would have been 7 or 8, and I'm 28 now, and I still get shit every time I see Pop. He's like, the goat's still running around with their tails up. And I'm like, how much shit do I have to shoot to prove myself to you, Pop?
Well, I just don't think that's going to go away, man. That's a forever thing.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like missing in front of the boys.
So after the rabbit, what'd you step up to, man?
Look, when I was young, property was quite hard to get onto. So we just sort of spent the first few years sticking with rabbits, foxes, roos, and goats. And then sort of progressed to pigs. So I chased a lot of pigs in Darwin, a lot of barramundi as well, actually.
Very envious.
Yeah, absolutely. My first barramundi was 1 metre 10.
That's mint, man.
My very first barramundi, and I reckon I spent probably about a month chasing barramundi before some old dude with his nuts hanging out of his pants at the boat ramp was like, "Oh, using the wrong lures."
You got to use these.
Yeah, and it was only because it was so obscure looking at him and him while he was talking to us is the only reason why I remembered what sort of gear to start using and things like that. Anyway, went to pigs, chased pigs for a long time. I shot a couple of does when I was a kid, or a young adult, and I've only really just started chasing more deer in the last sort of 5-6 years.
Yeah, well, the deer have only grown in numbers since we were kids. They weren't really around. Yeah. It was mainly goats and stuff.
It was a boys' club too to get into that sort of stuff. It was very, very difficult, and look, it still is today. To try and get into, but the opportunities are certainly opening up for people.
Yeah, there was a lot more pay-to-play properties back then for goats. Like, you could go out towards Burra, and there used to be a bunch of stations you could pay your access fee, and you pay your camping fee, whether you stayed in shearers' quarters or you camped out, and it was a lot better access that day for that type of thing, where these days goats are worth a pretty penny, and it's hard to get onto them because of how expensive they are.
Yeah, definitely. And certainly because of that, the numbers have, in my opinion anyway, certainly decreased. But there's a property that I hunt pigs on it's on the border of New South Wales and Vic, and they used to allow goat hunting all the time, and then slowly but surely they'd get contractors in just to round the goats up, and then make it 20 grand or whatever, and
exactly 20 grand, 200
contractors,
goats.
And then 10 grand in the pocket, and that's feed. You know?
It's insane, but it's good for the farmers that they can make do for it. But here's us complaining like, "Oh, we don't get to shoot these these shoots anymore, these goats anymore." It's pretty selfish on us. But
I'd say goats are harder than deer these days, actually, just to get access
to 100%.
It's sort of like this is kind of backwards, man.
It is. But you speak to the old timers like my pop. Pigs were the abundant thing back then. Like, I haven't shot a pig in Australia.
What?
I haven't even. I've seen one wild pig in Australia, and that was out near Wentworth when I was a kid. It was a piglet. It would have been no bigger than this bottle of Bundy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
I've shot a sow in New Zealand. I've shot a boar in Mexico. I lost one with a bow in Mexico, and I shot a few piglets. But I have not seen.
Far out. We'll have to change that, man. Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because, like, I've hit a lot of pigs on like plains, like I guess farming land, grazing, or pastoral land. Sorry. And I've never seen a pig in the high country up until a couple of years ago, and I shot my first high country pig, And now I go into the high country and I see pigs everywhere.
everywhere.
I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
So I've done like 4 or 5 trips over to Kangaroo Island. My good mate Aaron lives over there. Got good access for pigs. Have not seen a live pig.
They're gone now, man.
No, they're still over there. He shoots them. He still shoots them.
Because I heard the fires pushed them to like one end, and then the chopper car just come and kill
they're
them.
still over there.
If not, we can change that. We can always take pigs.
You just go.
Not that we'll release any.
Jesus. We're moving on.
We'll take a few cats while we're there too.
Yeah. We'll go visit Barry, get some skins done.
I remember watching him on, it must have been SBS or something, man. He looked like a real funny character.
So you can just rock up at his house and he'll give you a tour. You go to American River, knock on his door if he's home. He'll invite you in, you sign his guest book. He normally has stubby holders or caps and skins you can just buy. You sign. Yeah, he's got his guest book and he'll give you a whole story and rundown. He'll show you his wall of cat faces and he'll put on. He'll come out. He'll go put his cat skin jacket on, which is he's got like pockets and it's the cat's mouths, and he's got feathers sticking out the mouths, and he'll put his coon style cat skin hat on. And,
I don't know if this is a good thing.
He's a really cool dude. He's eccentric, but he's.
Good God.
Yeah,
is it worth the $180 to get across?
Oh, if you're going over there, it's great fishing. There's a little bit of hunting, and go see Barry.
yeah. I'd go just to see Barry.
He's a tripper.
Oh God.
So gear run through. What are you running for deer these days?
Rifle.
What caliber?
Just my Seiko A7 Rough Tech in 308. With a Night Force NX8. Now I've got to get this right. It's like a 4 to 32, 6 to 32, something like that. Probably a little bit of overkill. When I was younger, I used to use, I used to love high magnification. Now I find myself dialing back a bit, but I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but that's the rifle that I use. Essentially, my main rifle.
Yeah.
I'd like to change that. I've got a 223 Ackley improved build coming.
Inspired by Rich?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, definitely inspired by Rich and Steve. I'm pretty keen because there's like this... It's like an a spoken rule that you can't shoot deer with a 223, and I just look at people and I'm like, oh.
It's not just an unspoken rule, it's just because it is a rule in the other states. So
yeah, but
because they get their licensing done and 270s minimum for Samba and all of that stuff, you know.
But I think that's an outdated rule with the way our projectiles have advanced in technology these days, and I'm very keen to pretty much change over to the 223, one because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
It's
killed more deer than probably any other caliber.
Yeah.
But it's just modelling for the lowest denominator, you know. So.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. thanks, Ron. Yeah.
You big oaf.
Yeah, and I get that, I do. But at the same time, I actually think the Vic laws need to be adjusted a little bit. 6.5, there's no reason you can't hunt with a 6.5 or even a 6mm or whatever. But that's all right. And then
this is what happens when you have people making laws who don't know what they're talking about, though.
That's a scary thing, man, because that's happening. And we just spoke about this before the podcast. Even in licensing, people getting rejected for silly things. When they're applying for a license. And
social media posts, things when they were minors that were sealed documents, they're still getting denied for. It's a scary thought how
it is.
And even just like people getting knocked back for having two or more of the same caliber. I'm hearing stories of people with 22s, like they might have 2 or 3 22s and then not.
Rimfire.
Yeah, rimfire.
Here in SA.
Yeah, in SA.
Far out. That's ridiculous.
Like even 270s, like, you know.
I got to admit, I was worried because I have a 308 in ticket A1 tack. And I wanted to get a lighter rifle to hunt with, and I threw up the idea of many calibers, and I thought, oh, you know what, we'll just keep it simple and stay with a 308. And I was actually worried because I'm like, are they going to approve this?
Yeah.
And I filled out the reason as to why I wanted another 308, and it got knocked back the first time, but the second time it went through, and it only got knocked back, I think, because I had put the reasoning down for the first 308. So it was like, oh, well, hang on, one of the reasons anyway. But
yeah, I was even worried putting my application through for my 300 Win Mag, knowing that I got the 270 and it's deer capable. Mm-hmm. But I just put down like long distance game shooting and all of that type of stuff to just everything I could think of to get it approved. But it's a ridiculous process that you have to prove yourself even after you've proven yourself and got yourself a license.
Yeah, I agree. I will just say that there's one good thing, I guess, with South Australia is permits to acquire. If they do approve it, it's generally back now after your first rifle within a couple of days.
Oh, electronic, man. My 300 was approved in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, that's outstanding. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Like maybe your first one, I can understand waiting the 21 days or whatever, but after that, no,
exactly.
No point.
The electronic system's much better. Than,
Yeah, definitely. That's a step in the right direction, but we just need to keep our voice open as shooters to I guess, gain further traction with some of the laws.
Hit up your local friendly firearms politicians, man. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, but we
try and work out who they are. Shooters, fishers, farmers quiet. Are probably our best in this state.
You know who I liked actually? The Liberal Democrats.
I don't do politics. I don't really pay attention unless I see shooters.
Bob Cattleman, and David Linehelm, they were two very, very cool characters. But I'll leave that for another time.
So what pack and that are you running? You running a bino harness as well and binos?
Yeah, so just the Alaskan Guide KISS bino harness.
Very nice.
There's a couple of things that I won't cheap out on because of what I learned in the army, and that's packs and boots.
And rifles and scopes and everything else.
Well, that's I think, actually, like, there's no reason to go, crazy with money on rifles. I mean, a Howler will do the same job at the end of the day. It's going to. But boots and packs, actually the pack that I've got is the Kafaru 44 mag. I wish I had that pack in the army.
Yeah.
Its load lifters and things like that just completely reduce the weight on the shoulders and put it all on the hips.
Yeah, so I've got a Tatonka. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those brands, but they sell them. They have an actual army pack that they sell, and I got Luke one. There was a bloke flogging one off on Facebook for $100. I'm like, Luke, you need to get this pack. There's a $600 pack, and he got it for $100.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Brand new, still have the tags on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're very much the same. All the weight on the hips rather than the shoulders. So it's just
that's that's essentially what you need to look for in a pack. That, and then the rest of the design, like zips, whether it's front light zips or top zips, that just comes down to personal preference. I hate rummaging through the top of a pack to get down the bottom.
Yeah.
So I like something that you can fold open and get a bird's eye view of the whole interior, essentially.
Yeah. What? How many literage is that pack?
44.
44?
44. Yeah, so it's actually a relatively small pack.
It's a good medium-sized pack, yeah.
It is.
Good
and
pack.
This is the other thing. The Army taught me to be able to live out of a relatively small pack for a long period of time. So some of the things you sort of know what you want to take. So, okay, I'm going to take a nice cold weather jumper or whatever. And then other things you can get rid of. I don't need a wimp mat or something like that. I use one now because I'm old.
I carry too much. Like my pack's 75 litres plus 10. So it's
Jesus,
a
man.
huge pack, man.
Is it full when you're loading it?
Not always.
No, not always. So,
You know, if I want a coffee and noodles, and you know, when I took Ilias and Luke out, when we went for a goat hunt, I took the camp stove, and sometimes I'll
stove.
yeah, man.
What about a fire? Just a few sticks and a grill plate.
Camp stove. I took seasoning. I took oil. I took everything. You know, my
I'd
little
do the
hiking
seasoning.
my little hiking chair.
Yeah. I've got to admit that's definitely worthwhile.
So I got a little on my little local deer block. I got a little ground blind that I build up every start of every rut. You know, I've already started building it up now, getting it ready. So I put my chair in, fold it out in the morning, and just sit there.
Yeah, that's all you want.
Yeah,
A bit of comfort.
I can debone a whole deer in the field and put the whole deer in there. I could probably fit 2 in there, being 75 litre.
Doe or a buck or a stag?
I could put 2 does in there, easy.
2 does.
Easy.
Bloody hell!
With the gear and.
How far are you walking out?
Sometimes it's 500 meters, sometimes it's a few k's. You know, I'm not doing the distance that you guys are doing, but you know.
Oh good God, yeah, I would not do that in big high country.
Yeah, not the high country. I did New Zealand a couple of years back, and I didn't have that pack. I had a smaller pack, a 55 litre, and yeah, I had that packed. I had stuff taped to the sides and tied to the sides, and I died coming out. You know, coming out of the forest, I probably had 10 kilos of antlers strapped.
Casties.
Yeah, casties and deadheads just duct taped together and bundled onto the.
Pick your favourite one and leave the rest. Did you learn?
That was 10 kilos of the best ones I liked. I left the bad ones.
Did you find out in that sort of trial and error what you could ditch and do without?
Yes, but I'd probably still take a lot of the same shit just for comfort. You know, we both took a 6-pack in with us. We both took chops and we took lollies and you know.
This is why you get just a bottle of Fireball. You don't need a mixer. 700 ml. Good. Stick that in the pack. Yeah, that'll last a day. Jeez.
But man, it's cold over there. It's cold. Yeah. What binos are you running?
Actually, a little just Vortex Diamondback.
Very nice.
10x42s. The Kiss pouch is small, so it won't accept 50 mil objective lens. And to be honest, I don't think I'll change. I've got a friend that has some Swarovski binos, and look, they're clear and they are amazing. But once you've picked up the deer, that's all you need it for. You know, pick up the deer, and then I'm kind of lucky. I've got the 32 power on the Nightfall, so if I want to check out its rack, you know, can do that.
Yeah. You just need it to pick them up on. Yeah. Boots. What boots are you running?
So boots, I've gone through a bit of a whirlwind. Through the army, I was running Garmin T8s. I personally don't like a heavy boot, and I don't like a full leather stiff boot. My feet, I've had major recorrective surgery on both feet, tore my Achilles and all the rest of it. And for some reason, they do not like a stiff boot. So anyway, I used Garmin T8s throughout the army. They were amazing, perfect, highly recommend them. And I actually went and I sort of bought a pair off of Delta Tactical Garmin Nemesis.
Make sure you check those guys out on Instagram.
Yeah.
They're a good bunch of blokes.
Definitely. And they got a good selection of boots to choose from. But anyway, I was a bit hesitant on the Nemesis because I hadn't used them before, and I bought them. And they're a good sort of... They're not waterproof, but they're water resistant. They're not insulated, but like we live in a desert, bro, so you don't need an insulated boot, even in bloody winter.
You're just not hunting the right spots, mate.
Yeah, I hunted the snow actually in some. They were Under Armour Vow sets, and that was terrible. that was not fun.
Yeah, do you run high boots or short or medium?
Nah, short. I run shorties, man. And I don't care about snakes. I don't run gators and shit like that. I've spent so many years out bush, and I've seen heaps of snakes. I've nearly stepped on a few, and touch wood, I've never been struck. I'm the idiot that goes picks them up. But,
yeah, snakes don't bother me either. The only reason I wear gaiters is for the prickles. I hate the prickles working down into your socks. And then having a chat with Richard on the podcast a couple of weeks back, he brought up a good reasoning to wear them when it's wet, just to stop the water from going down your trousers into your socks. So I'm going to be trying that when it starts getting a bit wet here. So
probably, actually I might give it a go and then eat my own hat with the whole gator thing. But
as we all do.
Yeah, like for that very reason, just to keep my trousers wet. But I one of the comfort items I put in my pack actually is a pair of trackies. And I sleep in trackies. So I have this full routine when I'm out bush to try and get the best night's sleep that I possibly can. And one of those things is I will actually like do a bit of a bird bath, a little bit of a pommy wash, and the other thing is I'll put track pants on. Because you sort of feel like, you're at home watching TV on the couch or whatever.
Yeah, my next backpack hunting trip, I'll be definitely putting wet ones in. I've learned that lesson. Yeah. After doing New Zealand, washing yourself in a creek, wet ones would have been so much more convenient.
Yeah. See, I'm not fussed about like the cold, like getting wet and getting cold.
I didn't think I was either, and I thought I was pretty well suited until I went to New Zealand, man. I was cold and wet and miserable. Like, it was probably only 5 degrees, but
that's part of the fun.
You're wet constantly. I got the Huntec hiking tent 2-man thing, but it's got no floor, so it's just like a tent. It's got one pole. You put a hiking pole or a stick at the front and I just had a cheap blow-up mattress, so it wasn't very well insulated, and I was in a -5 sleeping bag, and I was just cold all night. And chatting to the people, they're like, "What are you sleeping in?" I'm like, "All my stuff's still," and they're like, "Don't sleep in clothes. Wear less. You wear less in a sleeping bag, the warmer you'll be." And I started getting a bit better, but next time I'm gonna put a hot water bottle in my pack.
Yeah, man. People laugh at me for a hot water bottle. I'm like, yep, don't knock it, dude, try it.
There's 2 things I like about it. It's extra water in the bottom of your pack in case you need it. And you'd be so much toastier at night, man.
Yeah, man. And that and chuck your... Well, I mean, they've got 4-season gas now, but the old butane gas didn't flow in cold weather.
That's
the
biggest issue that I had in New Zealand was that the gas wasn't...
My burner was... in your sleeping bag.
Like... To do 2-minute noodles, it took me 20 minutes.
Yeah. Dead set. Just sleeping with the gas in your bag, and it'll just keep it like that sort of
temperature,
like
body temperature.
Yeah, it'll work.
It's a good idea.
Definitely, actually. And sleeping bags, -5. I haven't used a -5 for ages. I actually use a -15 permanently. And if I'm too hot, I just unzip it.
Yeah, that I was borrowing the sleeping bag, so that's definitely what I'll get.
So it's been cranked in before.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah, but it was it was the coldest and miserable as I've ever been, man. Like, just putting wet socks in, like, it is so hard to get motivated to go out the next morning.
Yeah.
When you're putting wet socks on, wet boots, wet pants. Like, I had my camp stuff and I had my...
Welcome to the army. It's exactly what it is.
I'm too soft for the army, man.
To be honest, I'd wear a stiff boot and an insulated and waterproof boot for Vic, but for New Zealand if I was there. But there's definitely some gear that you shouldn't cheap out on, and a floor on a tent. I figure that would be quite self-explanatory.
Well, it wasn't that bad. Like, the floor didn't bother me. It was just a non-well insulated mattress. If you got a Thermarest or something like that. This was just a BCF, not self-inflating, but blow it up and it's got so all of that cold air coming up straight from the ground into it.
Did you have a silk liner?
No.
Ooh, jeez. Yeah.
I roughed it, man. It was one of the hardest 5 days of my life, man.
Yeah, man. That doesn't sound too comfortable. I guess, like, these little things, though, you pick up as you go, and they're different for everybody because, some people might not care so much about being cold at night, but being wet and putting wet socks on might drive them insane. That's the other thing I carry is while I sleep in cold conditions, I'll have a pair of socks that are dedicated to
What
sleep in.
socks do you wear? Do you go bamboo, wool, cotton?
So I run two different types. I actually run the good old, what are they that you can pick up from like Woolies?
Yeah, I know the ones you're
Explorer.
talking about. Explorers, yeah.
And the other one I wear is like a waterproof. It's like, what's your wetsuit material?
Neoprene.
Yeah.
So I've been running bamboo socks the last few years, and
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Like you don't get any of the the sweating as you do,
Yeah.
and you can wear them for days.
Good
like
to wick away the sweat and all
it's
that.
it's heaps better than wool. It's heaps better than cotton and all of that other shit, all the synthetic shit.
Yeah.
Much better.
I wear bamboo jocks actually. Yeah. Oh, they're great.
What's the ads for them ones? I think I know.
Look, they're great for that reason. Actually, that comes into like my clothes. I took a gamble on Numa. Actually, they're an American company clothing, and they actually have been really good. But the problem was I bought them, and they only had like a desert cam pattern.
Yeah.
And then like a month after I bought them, I spent about $1,200 on some kit. And they come out with a new Woodlands pattern. I'm like, God damn, why?
Yeah, that's why I went Huntec. They're just a good all round. They got like the plain deserty colour. They got the plain like just jungle green colour, and then they got their Highlands camo. That I haven't found a spot it doesn't work in. New Zealand, Mexico, Texas. It's been pretty well suited for all of it. So
to be honest, their pants that they do actually intrigue me, the Huntec.
Yeah. Oh, they've got some really good stuff lately. They've got stuff with knee pads, not knee pads, but like a real hard type of over your knees, and then they got a spot so when you sit down on wet grass, you don't get a wet ass because it's got that little bit between you and the pant. It's wicked. Yeah.
Like the technology behind it, hunting clothing's come a long way. My dad actually
keeps coming.
It does, and my dad just bought some Hunter's Element jacket after. So we've been hunting a few times with Dad in the last couple of years. He's getting a bit older and a bit slower, so he doesn't get out as much.
And for anyone that listens to the Centre Mate podcast, that's Poiter.
Poiter. And anyway, we were out with Richie a couple times, and like Dad didn't put on a rain jacket or anything like that. We've been in the middle of this like absolutely bucketing down hunt, and everyone else is like, fine, we've got a rain jacket, and Dad's just miserable standing there. And Richard just kept digging at him. He's like, Peter, you need to put a fucking jacket on. He didn't. And he finally he got a bit of a Christmas present this year, and it was a Hunter's Element gift card.
He's got that old school farmer mentality, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's just I call it stupid.
That works too.
I call it stupid. I love you, Dad, but Jesus, man. He thinks he's got something to prove, and like I'll sit him and I'll be like, Dad, you're like the oldest at camp. How about you just sit down, relax, and make everyone get you a beer? He's like, nope.
He can't have his son showing him up, that's for sure. Yeah. What's your top beginner tip for someone getting into hunting and shooting?
Oh, I probably was against this when I was younger, but I would say now, join a club.
So something like the ADA?
Yeah, ADA or your gun range. Your gun range, ranges can be really bad, actually. There's too many dinosaurs in a gun range, and they just need to move on.
There's the reason I don't go to a gun range.
Yeah, and it's terrible. Having said that, so yeah, probably something more like ADA, and surround yourself with someone that knows what they're doing there. And it'll give you a foothold into the hunting community, like a leg up that, it'll just help.
Yeah, a few people lately, Josh, Rich, you, Mark and Ian from the Campfire podcast, the Hunting Campfire podcast, they've have changed my mind on what the ADA is like in recent months.
Yeah.
Just because, once I was getting into deer hunting, like all the stories I was hearing, it was quite only,
I think it's changed
dinosaurs,
a lot.
but it sounds like recent years it's changed and it's going towards more new hunters and getting people out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it does sort of matter on the branch that you join. Just be a little cluey on that. But at the end of the day, the ADA is a wealth of knowledge, and I think you're right. They're starting to go, okay, we need new members, or not starting to. I think they're well past this. We need new members and new people.
Because without new people, it's
nothing grows.
It's a dying sport, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's shooting in general.
Not even sport. I hate calling it a sport.
Well, shooting in general, man. Unless there's new people, and unless we start making noise for our rights as shooters, like it's just going to die off. And the good old saying is, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, man.
Yeah, 100%. What are your top 5 top items for a beginner?
Oh, this depends. What are they going to hunt?
Well,
we're talking about hunting or shooting?
Yeah, hunting. So just general hunting from rabbits to deer.
Say binos.
Don't cheap out. Get yourself a medium pair of Vortex or something like you've got.
Or just a set of binos. Not
you got
not your
what'd you say?
BCF binos.
You got Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I recommend them. They're a decent price for someone that's getting into it.
Max $400, man.
Yeah.
Or, you might get them cheaper on sale.
If you can afford more, do your research. I run Mavens for the price they are. Their quality is up there with. I think the pair I have would be that $700-800 mark.
Yeah, geez, that's a lot.
Yeah, but that's still compared to Swarovskis and all of that. Yeah. But the glass quality, because it's Japanese glass, it's way up there.
Yeah. See, it's weird. Glass is one of those things where, like, when I was a kid, HD glass was sort of like the forefront of technology, and now it's standard.
Yeah.
It's almost standard, I should say. So your quality of glass in a beginner's level now is just, it's extreme.
Yeah, I went from a cheap. So my first pair of binoculars were a brand new pair, but from Cashies for $50.
Sorry.
No, all good for $50. They were big. They were horrible. And you could not see shit. But it was like, these are wicked because I didn't have binos before.
Yeah.
And then I went to a pair of Bushnells from BCF, $150, $200. So I was working there, so a little bit cheaper. They had a zoom, like a decent zoom on them. I'm like, these are sick. I can finally tell the difference between a stump and a goat at a couple 100 meters.
Unless you're Ryan and there's 20 meters away and it's a cat, and it's not really a cat, it's a black stump.
Been there, man. And then once I got the Mavens, I'm like, holy shit, I can actually tell what I'm looking at, but I can see all the bits and pieces between. I can see just like I could tell the different trees apart. I could tell different rocks. I'm like, there's a goat. There's more goats. It's a game changer. That's for sure. Decent binos.
Yeah, without a doubt. And especially if you're going to get into like deer or pig or sort of like medium-sized game, I'll say.
Even small game, man. Like hunting rabbits, I use, and hares, I use the binos all the time. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I went out with...
And I'm talking like during the day, not just...
Yeah. Late evening, I find, is your glass quality comes into play on that low light switch. That's probably... for rabbits, for me, I used to use just my scope on my 22, and then I just got tired of waving a big stick around.
Yeah, on that Hunter's Campfire podcast I was talking about, I'm just catching up on the episodes now, but one of the episodes I was listening today, they were talking about not having your binos better than your scope, because if you're looking at an animal on that first morning, last light, and you can see it really well with your binos, but then you've got an average scope and you can't make out what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So you want to get that.
Look, that's probably my other item for a beginner actually is you can buy a $700 rifle, but you know what? Put $1,400 worth of optics on it, or buy the best bloody optics you can possibly buy for it. Because
don't look at my rifles then.
well, I just think one, tracking of the scope and the glass, obviously quality does vary a little bit, but more so for me, the tracking, and the adjustability on your higher end scopes. If you go something that's dialable, I'd recommend going straight to that. I probably wouldn't mess around. That's just, having said that, that's my style of hunting. I'd rather dial than aim off.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I'm owing that animal the best shot I can possibly take. So for me, it's just that next step of precision. Not to say that you can't do it. There are plenty of people out there that don't use them. But that's how I roll. Night Force, baby.
So binos, scope. You mentioned earlier boots and a bag, so that puts you at about 4. What's your 5th one?
Yeah, all right. My 5th one. I'd probably actually say don't get caught up in the trivial things, you know. You don't have to buy backcountry dehides. You can buy 2-minute noodles. You don't have to buy a full drive ute. You can buy a car, and there's a couple hunters like Aussie Bush Harvest. He started out running, I think it was a little hatch or something like that, just to get to the start of the property, and then he'd walk.
You had him on your podcast?
No. When just watching his YouTube.
I was listening to one of your podcasts a while ago, and very similar. I think it was Venison Diplomat.
Yeah.
He had a very similar story. He started off in a 2-wheel drive and parked at the start of the property and just walked out. I had very similar, you know. When I first really started getting into hunting, I had a Daewoo Lanos.
Yeah.
So I'd had this thing packed full of bows and knives and hunting packs, and you know, this is a 2-door hatchback. And then I'd be putting 3-4 dead goats in the back, and then I've got photos of deer in the boot of my Falcon, and
and that's, look, as long as it gets you there and gets you home, that's all you want. You know, your legs can do the rest, man. To be honest, I would say I don't carry navigational equipment actually, which is kind of weird. If I'm in the high country, I might chuck in a compass, but I can map the ground pretty well.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with direction. But I've been running on X Maps, free trial on my phone for the last 2 years. Yeah. So with my hunting blocks, I actually have them all mapped out, all the perimeter mapped out, because on the free function you can still do all that. Yeah. The paying stuff only pays for the states, so you just pick any. It starts off, it shows you all the 48 states in the states. You pick whatever one, and then you just go. Scroll down to Australia, and then you can map out your property. You can put all your pins on there. So I've got all my trail cameras marked out on there. I've got, you know, any scrapes that are used multiple times a year. If I find a new scrape, if I find a casty, I'll put that in there. Yeah, right. So if I'm back in that area, I'll just have
gives you a bit of data.
Yeah. So
that's what I was going to say. Is I'd recommend to use something like a GPS or a mapping sort of system. Yeah, definitely.
Well, with your phones these days, it does pretty much. And on X Maps, if you can still pick an area you're hunting while you're online, and you can save that area.
What about offline?
You can save it for.
Can you get in there offline?
Yep, if you save it offline.
Oh, right. So not if you're out there and you don't have it saved.
So you can have it saved, but majority of it's satellite. So as long as you've got that bit saved, you'll have that satellite position constantly. So
that's one thing that I do use, and I'm saying this not to follow in my footsteps of not using any navigational aid. I'm saying use it if you're a beginner. But the more to explore app, actually, if you're hunting Vic, man, I do use that a lot. And a lot of the times it's just to check boundaries. But I have to admit, their offline system is still pretty good.
Yeah, so Onyx Maps is very,
Very
very similar.
Yeah.
You just don't get the
Boundaries.
and stuff that you do on.
It's highly
but
important.
You can map that out yourself.
Yeah.
The properties I hunt, I just map it out from the fence line.
So you can just crop your area.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
You got some pins. You just mark out. I just follow the fence line and just do the boundary line that way.
Yep.
If I shoot something and I'm having trouble tracking it, I'll just put a pin where I'm standing, and then put pins on all the blood spots, and then I can go back.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Very good idea. I might check out Onyx.
It's worth it. I use it. You can track yourself while you're out there. You just put it in your pocket. And tells you all your stuff like your Garmin watches and that do, but it shows it up on the map so you can see where to go and compass and all of that stuff built in on it. So
right.
Yeah.
Accurate compass.
Reasonably.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I do find like if you know your cardinal points, man, map the ground, big features, you're good.
I've been out with some people that I went out to one property with one of my mates. Sorry, Liam. We walked probably 500 metres one direction. Did not turn, just completely straight. Said to him, all right, Liam, where's the car from here? He points straight ahead.
Oh, dear.
And I'm like, how can the car be straight ahead? We've walked 500 metres in one direction. It is behind us. Like,
Oh, dear.
I've never met someone more useless with direction, but
Geographically embarrassed, man.
but people like us, we've grown up doing this type of stuff. You would have more experience than anyone being in the army and all of that. So all of that's drilled into you to learn all of these.
You kind of have to be pretty switched with that sort of shit. I do have to admit, I do study my maps before going away.
Yeah.
A lot. And I'll use Google Earth too.
Yeah, I use even my normal properties. I'll still hit Google Earth. And,
definitely.
The changing conditions because they're constantly updating the satellite imagery.
And your vegetation changes dramatically. Actually, there's one particular place I go in, Victoria on Crown Land, and the fires that went through it, and boy did it everything just changed because you could see the folds suddenly in the land all of a sudden because there was no thick vegetation. You're like, whoa, I knew where I was, but it just had changed. And
that 3D imaging that some of those satellite maps have, that's a game changer.
You can do that without an app or anything like that. You just simply plot a graph on your contour lines.
Yeah.
And that'll give you a 3D image.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to do, to be honest.
But we're lucky we don't have to have paper maps and all of that.
Had to learn
I would have
that,
been used. Yeah.
It was a nightmare. You're like, why am I doing this?
Put me in the bush, I can find my way out. Put me in the city, I can tell you what, in the bush, I can tell you what tree to turn at to get back to the car, In the city, I can't even remember. And I'm a delivery truck driver.
GPS all the way.
I'll go to the same job 5 days in a row, and I'll put the GPS on to go there, and I'll put the GPS on to go back.
Yeah. Bloody oath, man. Yeah, definitely. Without a doubt.
Zombie apocalypse weapon. What are you going?
Are we talking Australian spec or Australian spec?
Yeah. What you can get here.
Can I pour a rum first?
Yep, sure can.
We were just talking before the podcast, actually, how much Senate Mate drinks on a podcast.
I don't think Josh has ever been so sober doing a podcast. I think he's struggling.
Yeah, man. I haven't said too many naughty words, actually. It's good. It's good. Maybe I should try this.
Caleb, Ryan, are you listening, mate?
Oh, God, Ryan won't. Actually, I'm wrong. A couple times last year, Ryan didn't finish his glass. Wow.
He's pouring a drink. Don't stress, guys.
Ryan didn't finish his glass a couple nights,
That's only because you got a bottle each.
Oh God, yeah, it gets pretty bad. Actually, one of our listeners sent us a nice care package with 2 bottles of wine and a bottle of moonshine, and we're midway through we've pretty much finished the moonshine.
It was a 20-litre jug of moonshine, wasn't it?
It was only a little one, but Caleb's messaged the guy and said, "Oh, thanks for the moonshine." And he's like, "Yeah, it goes well with the ginger ale." And it's just like ... You're supposed to premix this stuff? What?
It's like 98% proof.
I said to the boys before we started, I said, "Oh, let's literally get blind." But all right, zombie apocalypse Australian. I'd actually probably go with a Warwick.
Warwick?
Yeah, we all knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Look,
I couldn't count how many times you mentioned them on your on Send It, mate.
Yeah, definitely should be a brand ambassador. No, look, I'm familiar with the platform. Very familiar with the platform. So, like AR style platform. And to be honest, man, 30 round mag, a couple of optics on it. Like maybe I'd put something, or maybe a nice night force on there, and then I'd put a red dot or a reflex sight on a 45 degree. Yeah, definitely. Oversized charging handle, man. 7 mags.
Yeah. The first couple were swords, and then Rich is like, if I could get my hands on an AR, I'd go on AR. And
definitely.
Then you and Josh had taken it away with rifles. I think Josh said an Adler last week.
So. Oh, God. Yeah, cool. Boy, that dude is absolutely insane with his Adler on the back of a ute.
Yeah, I've heard your story.
Jesus, man. Caleb was shitting his pants, actually, when we were out there. Like, first time Caleb been out, like, I guess, how do I put this? Like Aussie redneck shooting. And it was under the candle, so spotlight. And yeah, I actually was hugging Caleb because he was trying to hold the shotgun.
That was before you went out shooting?
Yeah, it was a cold night. But I was hugging him so he wouldn't sort of like fall off. He was shitting his pants, and then Josh was also acting as a barricade so he didn't fall off. Like Caleb didn't fall off. But yeah. He's definitely a weapon with that Adler.
Hainesy's more ass than class, that's for sure.
I gotta ask, actually, what's yours? Don't say crossbow. He's pointing to a plethora of bows on his walls.
But I got the crossbow up there. It's got a scope. I can change that out to. I got the iron scopes there sitting there. I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So yeah, either probably go the compound. Probably not my hunting bow, but my actual fishing bows because they're a lighter poundage.
Yeah.
And just easy to draw back.
Yeah, that's. I feel like that's a terrible choice.
As long as it's slow zombies and not like 28 day later.
Didn't Mythbusters do a thing on this, and they actually found that an axe or an edged weapon was better? I'm pretty sure they did.
They didn't have me there.
Actually, talking about bows, man, you got a couple of stick bows here. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, like I said before, your best option is to hit Ilias up. That and Luke.
Yeah,
both of those boys know their stick bows, or Jack Spinks. If any of you guys are following him, he's just insane trad archer, man.
I'm keen. Like I said before, I've got sort of some goals to reach before I go diving fully into the bow world.
Just do it. Put your big boy pants on and just do it.
Look, nah.
Just do it.
Nah, because that's another rabbit hole I'll get lost in. You've got a damn blow dart here as well.
Yeah, blowpipe. Yeah. Yeah, I've got a bit of everything.
Yeah. What's that? Is that a practice bow?
Yeah, an AccuBow. I stuffed up my shoulder a few years back and got that just to help with the drawing. You can get like a iPhone app for it, and you can sit your iPhone on there and play hunting games and bow fishing games and that now with the new apps and stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you have troubles with the shoulders, it goes from like 5 to 70 pounds.
Oh, right. Might have to say that to my dad. Actually, he's struggling to get his bow back these days.
Yeah, it's good. And there's another thing that you can get for a compound bow. Mm-hmm. It kind of turns it into a vertical crossbow. So it's something that you mount on the side of your bow, and you draw the bow back, and it locks into place. Mm-hmm. And then you just got your your
Should
release
release.
aid,
Oh.
and it just holds it. So you've got a like on the front of the crossbow, you've got the spot where you put your foot in. So you draw it like a crossbow, clips into place, and then you shoot it that way.
I think I've seen that, the vertical crossbow. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can mount it on any of your compound bows, so that if you have really bad shoulders and you still want to shoot a compound.
That sounds just as terrible for a zombie apocalypse weapon.
That would be worse, yeah.
Jeez. No, don't reckon I could do that. No, I definitely have to have gunpowder in it for me.
What have you forgotten on a hunt?
Oh, not so much a hunt. Actually, I'm pretty switched because I'll pack like a week before.
Yeah, you've got the big whiteboard. And
Yeah,
you've got
I've got
everything planned down to a T. That's the army shit coming out in you.
Yeah, it is. It is ridiculous. Like full whiteboard checklist, and I'll pack a week before, and then I'll repack like a couple days before going. Yeah. It's insane. I'm actually the one thing I'm organised with is my hunting. The rest of my life is shams, but
Is
hunting,
just send it.
Yeah, hunting's next level for me. And what we're talking about?
What have you forgotten on that?
Oh, that's right. So it wasn't so much of a hunt, but my first deer count with ADA, I forgot binos. I was like,
they're pretty important.
I'm like,
you can get away without them, but
yeah, I was like, everyone else has got their binos. I'm like, yep, yeah, cool.
yeah, Hainesy's one last episode was good. He grabbed the wrong ammunition for a rifle.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Or
and his mate that he was meeting up with did the exact same thing. So they both had two guns between them
and no ammo.
Oh
no!
And he was saying that they went through this guy's farm ute and found one round and then got a deer with it.
That's gold. That is perfect. That's a good story, to be honest.
Yeah,
that's one that you tell your kids.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
There was a period here in South Australia where, when I was growing up, I thought it was illegal to travel with your bolt in your gun.
That's a very common
It's a misconception. Yeah.
Due to the other states.
Yeah, exactly. But I got into a habit of removing them. And I did actually forget the bolts one day. But I think we made it like 200 metres down the road, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I think my grandpa's forgot bolts a couple times, and then removing them, people have lost bolts, and I've heard all sorts of horror stories.
Actually, I was out in Orroroo when I was a kid, and we were hunting, and I just took my sister's boyfriend at the time, or fiance. Anyway, he was like real new to the hunting and camping scene, and he took out my bolt of my ticket because he was just playing with it, and he actually cocked it outside the weapon. And if anyone has tried that, they're actually quite difficult to try and decock. Yeah. And you can't put the bolt back in the rifle without decocking.
Yeah, well, I haven't heard of that. Eh?
Yeah, and there's a little tool that you can get to make it easier, but if not, you kind of need a vice. So we were out there, and we were like, everyone's trying to crank this handle back up because it was closed. Sorry, it was cocked outside the gun, and no one could do it. And we ended up with a gun down that trip. But one thing when I was growing up with my dad is we always took more guns than what we needed.
Yeah. No, I do the same. Sometimes I'll put at least 2 deer rifles in and small game rifles, and
you need a backup for your backup.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky here. You know, we don't have any caliber restrictions. Per se. So I've taken a couple of small does with the Hornet running into them. The 22 Hornet. Yeah, and that headshot with that drops them beautifully.
Yeah. But that's probably the worst I think that's happened to me, to be honest. I'm more worried these days. I wear contact lenses. I'm more worried about forgetting my damn contact solution than I am anything.
One of the worst stories about losing something on a hunt, or not even a hunt. My grandparents used to do a fair bit of driving back in the day, and state to state, checking out all new places. The tailgate on the trailer swung out, and Pop lost 2 rifles at the
Jeez.
back of
Yeah.
back of the
That'll do it.
trailer, 22 Hornet, and can't remember. I think it was a Bruno of some sort.
Yeah.
So
the CZ will still work. Yeah. Jesus.
lost him, never
Lost
found him, reported him.
Yeah, someone's got a free Bruno. Man, I rate highly CZ for rimfires, man. Well, actually, my first centerfire was a CZ 550 American in 243, and that thing was just a absolute fucking whippet.
Yeah, my stepdad's got a Model 2 Bruno. And,
Yeah.
Man, it's so good.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Don't
love
get
that
rid of it.
rifle.
Yeah.
And then Pop's got a it's either 223 or 22 Fox, Bruno Fox.
Yeah,
with the set trigger and
yeah. Single set was my jam growing up, man.
Yeah.
Back before you could buy, before aftermarket triggers were affordable. But my dad swore by them up until like a few years ago. He's like, "Oh, is it a single set?" I'm like, "Nah." He's like, "Oh, no, forget about it." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, Dad."
What's the funniest hunting story you have? I can think of one you've spoken about on the podcast. Someone almost dying. Taking a guy out filming.
Oh, bro, dead set. So, like years and years ago, we thought, oh, let's try and film our hunts. And there was this young kid that actually used to work for me. And he was like doing his, I don't know what you'd call it, major or his degree in filming. I don't know what you call it. Anyway, I was like, yeah, sick. Oh, do you want to come out with us and film us hunting and that? And like he had plenty of ideas and this and that. And like he had the equipment as well. And I had no idea about tech and it's certainly about cameras. And this is sort of on that bridge between where phones started getting good, like camera phones. Anyway, we took him out. We took him to this place that resembled a desert, so South Australia. And
out Sedan Way or something.
It was, it was near Truro.
Yeah.
And so it actually wasn't that far out, but it was still like this is on the other side of Truro where it's getting flat and, it's pretty bad. Anyway, the poor bugger didn't bring water. So we brought plenty of water. Anyway, we're driving in. We're filming as we're driving in. And, start doing our things. And it started getting quite sunny. And obviously in South Australia, like 34 degrees is pretty damn common. Anyway, this guy was translucent, by the way. Like, he had translucent skin. He did not have any
pigment.
Any pigment in his skin. Just after lunch, a couple of hours after lunch, and it was sort of stopped for a bit, and we get back into filming. Ryan's actually just gone off chasing an animal with his bow, and it was ironic because Couchy was back with me, and Ryan took a shot at this animal and missed, and he only took one arrow. So, and he's looking back and waving someone to grab like another arrow and bring it down to him. Anyway, it's taken him like an hour and a half to get to this animal, like this final approach of 50 metres. And Couchy's just like, oh, screw this. He's grabbed an arrow and just walked right up to Ryan. And Ryan's full stealth mode, like ghost in the bushes, like dun, 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 dun. Couchy's just walked straight up to him, giving him this arrow, and just walked back, and his animal's still standing there. Anyway, this poor dude, he's like trying to film, and his sunstroke is hell. We're trying to give him water, and we're trying to give him food and that, and he's just sort of crawled over to me, and he's like, can you ring my sister to come pick me up? And I'm like, bro, that's like 2-hour drive for her. Is she going to do that? It's like, man, I'm not feeling well. Poor dude just like went into like this weird shock, just went quiet for, like after I rang his sister, said, look, he's not doing well. Can you come pick him up? I'll meet you on this road, because she would not be able to find this road. So we just I said, we'll meet like on a main road. She's like, yeah, no dramas. I look over, and for the next 2 hours, this dude he's whiter than translucent. He's like, you can see his blood vessels. and he's just not saying a word. He just couldn't move, just didn't say anything. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? We ended up getting him back and dropping off to his sister. He kept working for me actually for many
So he
months
didn't
after
die.
that. So he didn't die. Yeah, just want to hold the phone there. He didn't die. But poor fella was absolutely screwed. After that, I was like, all right, no more plebs and no more people, like no one under the age of 20. Like I'm not risking the biscuit. Actually, Hayden, one of my best mates, found out he was diabetic. We were doing firewood season. We're chopping firewood and selling it, and he was kept complaining about when he was driving home from work how he couldn't see. I'm like, what do you mean you can't see, bro? He's like, yeah, man, I have to pull over because I can't see. I'm like, all right.
He's having these diabetic episodes on
he didn't know he was diabetic. And I'm like, okay, bro. Maybe you should go get that checked out. He left it for ages. And his mum caught him, having an episode, I don't know, or something, and said, go to the docs, go get checked out. And he ended up getting checked out, and the doc's like, how do you still have limbs? His insulin levels were just, non-existent.
Yeah, wow.
And he's ended up coming back, a day later, and he's like, I've got diabetes. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I got diabetes. The poor dude was sculling 15 litres of water in 6 hours. Yeah. I'm like, that's not normal. You're just a weirdo. Why are you drinking so much water? Stop having a break to drink and get back to what are you doing? Anyway, absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ridiculous. But that's all right. That was that. I don't know, 2 stories, funny stories, not hunting related, but that's all right.
So probably the same thing. Most dangerous thing to happen on a hunt, or do you have some one-up stories on?
Yeah, I do. I'll keep them to myself. But most dangerous thing to happen on a hunt. Ooh. I'll have to come back to that, man, because what I think is dangerous on a hunt.
I suppose you've been in some pretty dangerous situations.
Yeah,
so
it's not,
average person's danger.
People freak out, and I'm like, look, I haven't been chased by a bear or anything.
Your leg's hanging off. You're okay. We can get you.
That's the thing. I sort of sit there and go, oh, it's a bruise, or just rub it off, or rub some sand on it, and get on your way. So.
Speaking of being injured, do you run an EPIRB or anything like that? You don't have?
Nah, no, I actually stopped carrying a medical kit.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I've got a bit of clothes, got a belt.
Caleb saved Ryan's ass out on one of your southeast trips recently, full drive, and someone came unstuck.
Hey, and what did he do?
I don't know. I think Ryan hurt himself somehow.
Scope eye? Please tell me it was scope eye.
I don't know. I just remember him holding his elbow up.
Oh, no, that's right. We went fishing on the coast, man. Down in north.
North was it?
Not down, it was north. Ryan caught up with a dude or met some guy, and he had this homemade peewee and got on it and decided this peewee didn't have a clutch. He ended up coming off the bike and grazing his arm. I was sitting there looking at him going, it's a graze, get over it. And then 2 weeks later, his arm's still not healed up and it's all manked. I'm like, oh, maybe that was worse.
When they put it up in the Send It Mate story, I just sent back the Step Brothers meme. Where it's
100% that's what it was like, bro. 100%.
I lost it, man.
I'd actually bounced him to town for a shower.
Just how he's holding his elbow out. As soon as I've seen it, I'm just like, how has he not thought of this?
Yeah.
And I sent through the meme straight away, and Caleb's like, you're a funny fucker.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You're definitely quick. That's for sure. And your video editing skills or photo editing skills are on point.
It's just because I like taking the piss out of people, really.
But
top 5 dream hunts, animals.
Top 5. Wow. All right, so I've said this on Send It, mate, actually. The number one thing I want to hunt in this world is actually a wolf.
Yeah.
I
Badass.
like the challenge of something that is smart enough to work in a pack, and it's almost, it feels like it's a worthy adversary. You sort of
They're
like,
a cool creature, man. They're,
big as
beautiful.
well. Yeah,
big, beautiful, and just like I shot that coyote in Mexico, and they're just a little wolf, and they were cool enough to hunt. So I shot the female coyote, and then a couple of days later I called some in, and I had a shot at one with a bow, but it was through some pretty thick scrub. But just calling them in and hearing them sounding off and howling, and yelping around like it was.
They're like they're working together, man. They're just consistently like in communication, and they know what's what and what's great, what's good for the greater good.
I like how smart they are. That the alphas aren't in front, like, you look at elephants where the matriarch is in front leading the pack, where the alpha male and female are at the very back, and the oldest animals at the front. Like, and then they've got all the that's
it's smart, it's sophisticated. They probe, they do something what like we do in the infantry.
Military,
is probing, man, and it's like to find vulnerabilities, and you're like, wow.
I'm not sure how much bow hunting stuff you've immersed yourself in, but do you know who John Dudley is?
John Dudley, heard the name.
Yeah, so he's an Olympic archer, insane hunter. He tells a story on the Joe Rogan Experience where he shot an elk with his bow. The elk died in a wolf den. They've gone down to retrieve this elk, and they've looked around, and there's just bones everywhere. They've had a pack of wolves come in. He's got 4 arrows left, or 4 or 5 arrows. His mate with a rifle as backup's got 3 rounds for the rifle. And there's like 8 wolves. And they ended up killing like 4 or 5 wolves coming in. And he shot all 4 of his arrows. He shot one, shot a wolf with. Like
that's the thing, man. Like, it just feels sort of, and look, I understand that this is probably more trophy hunting, and I'm definitely a meat
how
hunter.
good would a wolf rug look on the floor, man?
Yeah, I want to make a chair out of 2 wolves, actually, just a sitting chair. But and that goes against, in my mind, actually how I am as a hunter. Because for me, hunting is more about meat.
It's different here in Australia. Like, yes, we're big on the conservation side, but it's more pest control than anything. Where over there, it's keeping numbers intact and taking out whether it's the oldest animal or all of that stuff. Depending on what the tags are. Like, bear's my top, like black bear, like just
black bear,
black
oh,
with a bow. Like that's
a different story. Yeah, I feel like there's parts in the States where you just like walk up to a rubbish bin and there'd be a black bear, and you'd be like,
but you can't hunt there. I also like the work that the bow hunters and all that do to chase black bears
with dogs.
No,
just straight up. You do it. No
tree
dogs?
Stand or whatever. These guys, they go to all the donut shops after they close and all the bakeries and get all these donuts, and they just, in areas that it's legal to bait, they put donuts in these barrels, man, and they just wait. Like, my favourite video to watch is a guy called Clay Newcomb who works for Meat Eater now.
Definitely.
And he's a trad bow hunter primarily, but he's draws back on this bear, and the bear walks up, its nose touches the tip of his arrow, and then it like goes to walk off, and he lets the arrow off and just nails this bear. And it's I've watched it probably 1,000 times, man. Like,
that's a good hunter, man. To get that close.
In a ground blind, man. He's sitting in a ground blind, and the bear walks up and nudges the tip of his arrow. This is a trad bow. So this bear is from a meter you away. Like,
that'll get you. That'll get you. Your tingles going.
So
that's for sure.
Wolf is your number one. What?
Yeah, definitely. The next one would probably be sort of elk.
Anywhere in particular?
I just want to hear
any, like, is it Colorado mainly for you?
Yeah, I think I'd like to hunt Colorado for elk. But look, beggars can't be choosers. So anyway, I think my third would be.
So you've got a couple of North American species now. You got a African species
or
Barbary sheep, otherwise known as.
Yeah, I'd like to hit actually Pakistan.
Yeah,
they do an Aoudad hunt, and I'd like to do it in Pakistan.
Yeah,
and
you have some cool stories of ibex walking through some of your military camps and stuff.
Look, dude, actually, this is the funniest thing, and this is in the middle of a town. I was sort of like the outside security for this, it's sort of like a key leadership engagement. So I'm meeting with elders, and I was sitting there in this blown up Humvee, and I was just rocking a HK 416. Yeah, so it was a 7.62, essentially like an AR-10. Anyway, I've just sort of like crawled up into this blown up Humvee just on the side of the road. Thought, I'll just chill here. Seems like a bit of shade, cool, whatever. And there was a building in front of me that was half built, and it was a full building. Like you don't picture this, I guess, in Afghanistan, but it was a full building. And I'm sitting there, bored as hell half of the time, bored as anything, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, sick, whatever. And next minute, this ibex just walks in front of me out of nowhere. I'm like, what?
So I understand you probably didn't shoot it, but what's the rules? Like, you're in the military, you're waiting there, you're doing defense.
Oh, look, would
you be allowed to shoot it, or you're not, or what's
you could get away with it
because you weren't into your hunting as much back then. You were.
But it was just time. Yeah. Work just took precedence of everything, man.
Like, would you get in shit if you?
you could. We shot dogs in Afghan because they would be
feed on bodies.
Pretty much early warning, actually.
Yeah.
So you could move into a sort of like town or whatever, and dogs would bark, and you'd be like, all right, because they'd alert everyone that you're there. So you'd be like, and we carried suppressors and subsonic ammunition, actually. So with subs and a suppressor, it's real quiet, actually. So you can. There was plenty of that. There was, but for game, I mean, I know our cooks used to like go out and sort of like get meat, like shoot a goat or something like that, but.
Because I don't think I would be able to control myself if this big.
They are tiny. You know that, like the
new.
It's ridiculous. There's like
today is the 4th of February, so the new season, the new half of the new season of Meat Eaters just come out, and he's got an ibex hunt in.
Ibex hunt.
He's got an ibex hunt in New Mexico because they've got a wild population of feral ibex in New Mexico. They have
ibex in New Mexico.
In New Mexico.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. They also have what are they called? Not sable. Gemsbok in New Mexico. Wild.
Really?
You can do wild Gemsbok. I think it's Gemsboks or something very similar.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, they got feral, ibex and feral, but they've got a tagging system for them.
Yeah. I feel like the population would be quite small.
I think it's about 400 animals in this region in New Mexico, and they only give out so many billy tags.
Yeah.
But the billy tags are hard to get. It's a once in a lifetime draw.
Mm-hmm.
So if you draw it, whether you take the animal or not, it's once in a lifetime. But you can also get nanny and juvenile tags.
That's a tag for a season, yeah?
Yeah.
So you got a season to hunt.
Yeah, but whatever the season.
Yeah, like a month or something. Yeah.
So,
bloody hell, you'd be out there for the 30 days.
Think of like the Flinders, but worse. That's what they're living in. Like, think of Will Pena Pound, like Cliff here.
Done plenty of hunting there, that sort of stuff.
But it's cool, man. It's
at least it gets cold at night there. It gets cold at night here, but I feel like
we're in the desert.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Nothing lives inside joke here. There with the send it, mate.
Yeah, nothing lives out here, mate. I'm surprised roos live. Some days I'm like, how do you live out this shit? Oh dear.
Yeah, but if an ibex walked out, I don't think I would have been. Sorry, man. Sorry.
I lined it up in my scope. Don't get me wrong. I was like, yep, yeah. No. I had to stay professional and stay on task, unfortunately. And a couple of incidences occurred after that, to be honest. I was probably pretty happy I didn't go pew, pew.
So that's 3 or 5. What else? So you got wolf, you got elk, you got Barbary sheep or dad.
Yeah, I tossed up with this for a long time because my parents are Christian and there's a bit of sort of relation between lions and Christianity. But I want to hunt a lion.
Mountain lion or African lion?
African, yep.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I'd definitely would give that a go. I wouldn't pass it up, that's for sure. And the 5th one I will do this year, that is get a cracker red. Yeah.
Fingers crossed. April, Hainsey.
Yeah.
Love you, dude.
Yeah, love you, bro. Look, yeah, to be honest, reds have eluded me too much. Yeah. Way too much. So, yeah.
Yeah, like I've seen a couple of cracker stags, but I just haven't been in a position where I've been able to shoot them. But, yeah. I got a hind and a couple of spikers.
Bring Worth. Bring Worth first. Yeah. You see plenty along them and you're like, oh.
Yeah, so for anyone listening, that's Water Valley down in the southeast of South Australia. Rich and I have covered that before. How do you see the public views on hunters?
Oh, I had this conversation actually the other night with Kat, my missus. I'm just drinking all your rum here.
It's all right, it's free from work.
I've been on the other end of people. Well, the conversation actually stemmed from the whole I hate or don't mess with cats thing on YouTube. Netflix, sorry, yeah. So I've been on the receiving end of people pretty much saying, I wish someone kills you and this and that.
I know all about that.
Exactly. Yeah. You've had it worse than me, man. Like way worse than me. And I don't enjoy it because they're just misled with.
It's feelings. It's people putting human emotions into animals, and
there's that, and they don't understand what we're doing.
They see their house animals and farm animals, and every animal has been very Disneyfied, like Bambi and all of that stuff. So,
yeah, and it's annoying because it's not how we operate, and we utilize these animals for food and things like this.
I have found since Corona though, people have been more open to it because of all the supply chain issues.
Yeah, not just that. There's a fad going around like organic meat. You're like, yeah, mate, we've been doing this for years. You guys are just slow.
What's on this chopping board in front of us?
Yeah, exactly. You're just like you're behind the 8 ball. We've been
only by a couple million years.
Yeah, like a long time. And people are just misconstrued in where we get our meat from. And to be honest, it's actually a nicer death than the abattoirs because we have halal obviously here.
Yeah.
So it's got to be killed a certain way.
I worked 3 years on a slaughter floor, man.
Yeah, and it's not pretty. I'd rather a bullet than getting my neck cut.
Yeah, it's different for sure. These animals live a completely wild life until we pull that trigger or we let that arrow fly.
And we're selective.
And it could be a couple of minutes.
Yep.
Stuff does happen.
Oh,
we all put off bad shots, but still, this animal's. We're projecting our human emotions and ethics into it, and like I heard on the podcast I was listening today, the buck's not going to wake up. Oh, where's Gary? Like, it's me and Gary were fighting yesterday.
It's also not, in a line, and the animals, an animal in front, in a line to be slaughtered, obviously starts making noise, can see what's happening, and it's distressed, and that passes along down the line. So then as soon as they start getting distressed, they start building up adrenaline.
All the hormone effects. And
then
all
that
of
spoils
stuff.
the meat and things like that. now, with that, we're all accustomed to meat tasting a certain way because we buy it from the shops. It's not like that in real life.
No.
It's not like that at all. Like you go kill a lamb from the paddock and then taste it, and then taste a store-bought lamb. They're different.
Yeah, but even Rogan says, like, you compare domestic animals, farm animals, compared to wild animals.
Yeah.
It's like eating someone that only eats KFC every day of their life.
Exactly.
To eating an Olympic athlete.
They're being fed to be fat and yield the biggest result, weight, compared to survival, and eating, and they're lean. And I think that's where we get a lot of our health issues from, actually, is eating these products that really have just been adjusted to yield the biggest profit. 100%. And that's including our crops. Our crops are we don't have like a normal crop anymore. They've all been genetically modified to grow in our climate, man.
Carrots were purple. They weren't orange,
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Absolutely crazy. But, hey, that's why I hunt.
How would you change the public views on hunting and hunters?
Look, this is part of Send It Mate podcast. This is my way of trying, at trying to change the opinion, but also grow the community.
And you guys are doing that every Saturday almost with your skeet shooting and your clays. Yeah, look,
clays I'm going to be taking up and trying PRS this year as well, and obviously the podcast itself and dinners.
The dinners is a great thing.
Yeah,
they're slowly getting bigger and bigger and more people as the community.
Yep, and that's the thing. Like, that's just my way, and obviously Send It Mate's way of trying to change and help it grow. Yeah, I don't really know how else to put it, because that's all I want out of it.
And you share a bit of your game meat too from the deer you shoot, from what I've heard as well. So I see that as a very big thing.
Plenty, and I just want to get bigger. I would like Josh Hainsey's been a huge influence on me, and I would like to just extend what he's doing.
Yeah,
essentially with sharing meat.
Shares meat, takes new guys out. Yep. Takes plebs like us out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the dude's a book of knowledge.
Yeah, he's insane. Yeah. He just lives and breathes hunting.
I don't know how
more than all of us combined.
Yeah, I don't know how he. We
had this discussion last time.
Just insane.
So, what is hunting to you?
So apart from an outlet to focus. Absolute. It's also my roots, my heritage, and that's a big thing for me. I don't get emotional these days, unfortunately, but when I think about hunting, it is my emotion. It's my lineage. It's just who I am, and it's what makes me a better person.
100%, man. Like, if I haven't gone hunting in a few weeks, my wife's just like, Zach, you need to go.
Yep.
And you're an asshole.
It's not just shooting animals. For me, it's about the ocean as well, man. About fish. I'm a huge seafood fan.
Just not a great fisherman.
Yeah, look, Darwin, man, I killed it in Darwin, to be honest, and I lost that when I came back here. And
to all our little guppies.
Yeah, I just was catching nothing and couldn't get my head around it, and was like, oh, stuff this.
I was chatting to Couch. You guys need to go hit up the reservoirs, man. Go get your $30 permit. Yeah. Head down to Happy Valley. Go get yourself some cod, man. Like,
this is hard, because when I was young, I fished the reservoirs illegally,
as we all did,
and caught nothing.
They weren't stopped.
Yeah.
No.
So it put me off. But yeah, that is definitely. Actually, your cod was pretty nice the other day. That's some good effort, man.
That's the average size. They released 5 to 8 kilo cod out there, 1,000 of them.
Far out.
Yeah.
Happy Valley.
Happy Valley.
Oh, yeah.
People are catching them on lures, in kayaks,
Damn.
land base. You know, there's 3-4-year-olds that are going out there.
Can you camp it?
No.
Nah, damn.
But it's just a drive. It's not that far. It's 45 minutes for us.
Yeah, but if I'm staying out there, if I'm out there, I'm going to stay out there.
Yeah, but you'll catch 5-6 cod in a day, and you'll be like, yeah, no, I'm done.
Mate, I haven't even caught one cod in my life.
That's how
right?
that's how I felt. Like I had a mate, Lee. He's a big Send It Mate fan. He went out there before I did. He caught 13 cod in the kayak. In one day.
Jesus.
I'm like, what the fuck?
I still don't believe it.
I've got 3.
There's no fish in South Australia. None. whatsoever. We live in a desert. There's
Yeah,
no water here. We're surrounded by land.
Again, Hainsey needs to take it
13.
out. 13 cod. People catching like 20 a day down there.
Release, obviously.
It's catch and release for cod. But if you hit the other reservoirs, you can catch callop and silver perch and take 2 of them. And then redfin, if you catch redfin, you can keep them.
Yeah, I don't believe they exist.
But dude, I only caught 3 cod when I was down there. But
only.
that's 3 more cod than I.
Yeah, 3 more cod than me. Oh, damn.
How would you like to be remembered?
Ooh. You can go 2 ways in this. You can be like, you want to stimulate the hunting community and be remembered that way, or just, mate, I just want to
Be remembered as the larrikin you are.
be remembered. Well, this is a thing. This is a part of, I guess, your other question. What's hunting to me is hunting is not as doom and gloom as what every Australian YouTube video out there is on. It's like ominous. And then you shoot an animal and they're like, fucking where? No, they're like, it's it seems unhappy. You know, when I shoot an animal, it brings joy and life to me because I know that's food. And I know I get to share that food and the fun experience around eating those food and having a beer with the people that I love. And all I want to be remembered is, just to bring a bit of joy into the hunting community. Yeah. Maybe.
No, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
And this one that you
I'm not going to die for a while. Like I'm outliving Caleb. I've made a bet on this, man. Yeah.
That's not hard with the lifestyle he lives.
Yeah. Caleb, you're fat.
What's the most random fact you know?
Okay, so I checked myself on this, but a dolphin's vagina has actually evolved to reject weak sperm.
Yeah, wow. So very similar to a duck. Have you heard that? The duck's got the trap vagina, and ducks have a corkscrew penis.
Yeah,
but they have like trap doors, and
I don't know how it works, but it rejects all unwanted seminal fluid. This is supposed to be PG.
You keep getting rejected then.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've been doing too many of those LSD studies with dolphins.
Yeah, that's probably the craziest thing. I know. I was trying to. I had to fact check myself because I'm like, hang on, is this real?
It took us 20 minutes to start the podcast because he had to go over his research
Yeah, pretty much. But that's probably the weirdest thing that I know. I actually seen it. I've got a mate that used to.
You seen it? What?
No, not dolphins, but ducks. Well, not ducks, but silkies. I've got a mate that used to AI silkies. That was pretty crazy because he'd put the jizz on a spoon and then he'd massage the hands back, and it would pulsate the vagina. Yeah, and he'd tip the spoon in full of stuff. Yep.
There you go. You guys and girls have a biology lesson as well.
Yeah.
So, if people liked what they've heard on this episode, where can they listen to you and where can they find you on social media?
Oh, look, they can obviously listen to us on Send It Mate podcast.
That's found on
like Spotify, Buzzsprout, or any Buzzsprout platform where
iTunes,
Yeah,
YouTube,
iTunes.
all of the major.
YouTube we haven't branched into
Yeah.
just yet for public. We're still working on it. And my own handle is just Pro Hunter. That's it, pretty
I
much.
do have to laugh at that because before I was Aussie_Arrow on Instagram, it was Prozac27. So
Yeah. Look, pro for me doesn't mean pro professional. It actually, because I grew up in a Christian household, it actually is a verse from the Bible.
Okay.
And it's my way of abbreviating in a funny, because I'm not a professional, way of Proverbs 12:27. The lazy man shall not partake in roasting his own game.
there you go.
So
Prozac for me was because Prozac's an antidepressant and I like to make people happy.
Yeah, that's right. It's on that. Oh, it's one of my favourite songs actually. Offspring.
Yeah,
What's it? The song's gonna come to me in a second. He's getting a tattoo. Yeah, he's getting ink.
Pretty
That's
fly
it.
for a white guy. You should know that all too well, man.
That's it, man. That was one of my favourite songs growing up. I'm like, yeah.
It was about you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. All right.
Anyway, man, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So yeah, anyone that wants to listen to Josh, Ryan, Caleb, that's Send a Mate podcast.
No one wants to listen to Ryan. All right, let's just stop it there. Yeah, you're jumping on for Caleb or Josh.
He's a bit of an oaf. But these guys don't want to give him credit. He is a funny motherfucker.
No,
Yeah,
don't ever say that again. Ever. Don't. Well, he's witty. I'll give him that.
Every time you're like, don't encourage him, I send him a message. Keep it up, man.
No,
Keep it up.
don't. I've actually
You're
thought
the only
about
reason.
making.
He's the only reason I listen to the podcast half the time. You know.
I've thought about making a fake account just to like send him messages saying, "Oh, you're terrible. Get off there."
Poor Ryan.
No, it's pretty funny.
It was actually pretty funny a couple of weeks ago it's a couple months ago now, but rocking up to site, rang the site contact. Oh, I got your deliveries. No worries. I'll send my guy out to come pick it off. And this big lanky motherfucker comes out, big beard. I'm like, is that Ryan? He rocks up and he's like, Zach?
The fact that he remembered you is amazing because he's got a terrible memory.
Well, I was talking to him first and he's like looking at me. I'm like, yes, it is who you think it is.
Oh, he lives in his world, man. He's in Ryan's world. Yeah.
But it is a R-rated podcast. It is funny as all hell. And if you like a good laugh, you like shooting, you like arguments between semi-automatics and non-semi-automatics, it is the podcast to listen to. But yeah, again, thank you, Josh, for coming on.
No, thank you, man.
So thank you for listening today. Please find us on all our social media, Instagram, Hunting Connection Podcast, Facebook, Hunting Connection Podcast, and Twitter, @Hunting Connect. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast app you're listening on, rate and review. Thank you for listening.